3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's about 15 seats out there. I'll come sit down.
Thank you.
Let's make sure, ask everybody to make sure your phones are silenced. Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's call the meeting to order for the Upson County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, April the 25th. At this time, you rise. Jessica, will you take care of the blessing invocation?
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for another opportunity to meet. And Lord, we ask that you cover us, and we ask that you bless each member that's represented here. And Lord, we ask that you just be with us, lead, guide, and direct us. We ask for forgiveness of all of our sins and wrongdoings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now you can ask. Thank y'all. Okay, next on the agenda are public comments. I don't think we have anybody signed up there.
We don't.
No, okay. All right. Gentlemen, next on is the consent agenda, and if it would please the board, I'm going to ask to remove item C from the consent and table it to our next meeting. I'll put that in the form of a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Thank you. So we'll take that up at our next meeting. All right, so you do have before you on the consent the approval of the April 11th, 2023 regular meeting minutes and the approval of the guaranteed maximum price contract for the Judicial Center. Do I have a motion on the consent?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the consent. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. All right, moving right along. New business. Presentation and possible consideration of the audit services request for proposal. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, so you can turn it over to whomever.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Chairman. So just briefly, so we've invited 3 firms that participated in our request for proposals to come and give you brief presentations tonight with the intent of having a further discussion about the selection of the firm on your work session beginning in May, potentially making a decision in your first meeting in May, the week following. So I think our CFO is going to guide us through the process, and I think Alan, are you going to be working the display, or are they going to be working it themselves?
I can as needed. If
Okay.
they need me to
I'm
sit
sure
there,
I'm sure we can do it, if y'all don't mind us sitting.
So, Mr. Chairman, it would be my preference, and please let if it pleases the board, we will let each of the 3 firms present. You've got a basic analysis done by staff in your packet. Since you're not actually considering this item for decision tonight, that's just for your reference as you're taking notes. So I would ask, and I think, did we limit to 20 minutes, Alan? So we're at 20 minutes, and then whatever questions the board has, then we'll ask the next firm and then the next firm, and then we will pick it back up at the work session.
Okay.
And I believe they were done in random order and put on the agenda. So at the first is, who's first on the list? Maudlin and Jenkins. So we would give them 20 minutes, give you an opportunity to interact with them, and then ask the next firm to come.
Sounds good. Alan, you have anything you want to add to it?
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
Maudlin and Jenkins is Miller Edwards' partner, and I cannot remember the other name.
I'm sure they'll introduce themselves.
So,
How y'all doing?
Pass it down to these gentlemen. Again, I'm Miller Edwards. Appreciate y'all having us here this evening. Y'all are okay with this? I'll just sit here and advance the slides. Is
Absolutely.
that all right? Oh, I hope we can get it all done in 20 minutes. What, Alan, have that list? We tried to follow it. Again, a little bit about me. I've been in the business 37 years. Justin's been in the business 12. We're both partners, Maudlin and Jenkins. Both 100% governmental. I don't do tax season. I don't do doing 40s. I don't even do my own. Someone tells me where to sign my return, like someone tells you where to sign yours. We're very concentrated in this industry. A little bit about firm profile. These again in the order of what he had in his evaluation. We've got operations offices in 6 states. We happen to be right down the road in Macon. Matter of fact, I only live about 35 minutes from here. I live out in Monroe County, coming out this way, out Thomaston Road. So it's not very far at all for us to get here. Again, large firm, got a lot of things happening. A little bit more about our profile. You can see one of the third bullet there, we serve over 650 governments. It's actually getting closer to 700 now. That's a lot of cities, a lot of counties, water authorities, special purpose districts, state operations, all kinds of things. Again, it's a big part. It's the largest niche we have in the firm now. It used to not be that way, but it's gone from being about 1% of the firm to about 30% of the firm in the last 25 years. It's gotten that complex and that significant to what we do. We've got a large group of personnel, a lot of people that work in the governmental sector. About 125 people work full-time in the governmental sector. So we've got a lot of capacity there, a lot of abilities to help clients when they need help and not have to worry about the timing of it all. We've just got a lot of resources to be able to pull from. We've got 17 partners that do nothing but governmental. That's a far cry from what it used to be. We used to have 0. And now it's up to 17 people who are full-time in the governmental sector. So it's a big part of what we do. We audit 78 counties in total. I put 48 there. Actually, that's outdated. That should say 50 that we do in Georgia. About 30% of the counties in Georgia we audit. And a large part of those we all have to make in Georgia too. So it's a big part of what we do. We were also asked just to list some of the services and industries we serve. I won't go through all this with you. Outside of governmental, we're just like a lot of CPA firms who do a lot of different things. But the only thing we don't do is oil and gas because we don't have much of that over here. We do a lot of other things as a firm, just not the two of us. We don't do anything to serve governments. So, a lot of different services that come with it. Looking at other things, just to talk about who we are. We've got a lot of clients, of course, that are governments. I said about 650. About 150 of those get the Certificate of Achievement from the GFOA, which is a high accolade to get from an outside party to review your particular financial report each year. And we're also considered to be one of the top 100 firms in the country. We're always one of the top firms in the state, size-wise, etc. We do a lot of what's called single audits, about 225 to 250 single audits a year. That's where federal monies come in, has to have special audits related to it. It's a big part of what we're having to do right now. That number actually is probably small compared to what it really has been this past year with all the COVID money that's come through. Just about every government we've had has had to have a single audit. Anybody who gets more than $750,000 has to have that. A lot of that happened this past year, but on the usual, about 225. Another thing that differentiates us from other firms is, again, our commitment to the industry of governments. Our own Joel Black is now the chairperson for the GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. They're the ones that issue all the standards for all governments across this country to follow, and he's the chairperson of it. We're quite proud of Joel to have that role now with the highest authority in the land. Another section Alan asked us to look at was our firm's participation in the local government sector. Best way I can address that is just look at some of the clients we serve. You heard me say earlier we've got 50 counties that we serve in Georgia. The ones that are in red are the 5 that we put in the proposal that we thought were most similar to what we have here in Upson County. Both of us serve those entities. Probably half of those entities I serve myself in some shape, form, or fashion. So again, all I do is serve governments and especially county governments too. Just a little snapshot to put that in perspective. If you just carved out just the south, west, and west of Georgia, all those stars are counties that we serve currently. Not to mention counties we don't serve anymore, but those are who we currently serve in this snapshot of this part of Georgia. I thought that kind of puts in perspective all that list that you just saw. Another area we serve a lot of cities. We've got 92 cities that we serve. They're large and small, from Atlanta, Georgia, to what we say, Florida, maybe. Yeah, might be one of our smaller ones. But we do the big and the small. And that's a good place for me to bring this up. We're not just out here serving large governments. It's large and small governments, whether it be the town of Turin, the town of Florida, or the city of Atlanta. We're doing them all. So Other things you heard me mention earlier about governmental, you can't even read that, but it's just to give you a taste of some of the other things we do. A lot of water, sewer, airports, gas, transit, those kind of things are also part of the governmental sector. Looking at the size of the staffing dedicated to local governments, again, you heard me say earlier about the number of people we've got. 22 partners and directors, that's the high level of people who have ultimate responsibility in the firm. We've got another 16 managers, and I said 125 earlier, it's actually more like 140 of other professionals that are within our rank and file. You look at the team that's here to serve you, maybe overkill to put this in here, but just kind of put names. Again, I'm Miller Edwards, Justin Elliott's here with me. We've got other people that we're thinking would play a role, whether it be the quality control review or just other managers and those kind of people who will help us out. Again, we definitely have the capacity, we have the experience and all those kind of things. You look at that right there. Demetria has 11 years, Kurt's got 11 years, Justin's got 12, and that's just an example of the rank and file that we have at Mullen & Jenkins. You heard me talk about single audits earlier. Again, it's a big part of what we do. We're considered to be, I think, the top 20 firms in the country when it comes to all these single audits that have to be done. We've had some that were huge, including the Department of Community Health. I used to audit that for about 20 years, and they were up to about $15 billion in federal money that were going through there. So again, a big part of what we do. Bonds, a lot of times you see governments, they may not historically have issued a lot of bonds, but all it takes is a special project here and there, and next thing you know, around the bond market, we've got a lot of experience in the bond market as well. So, another section Alan said was why our firm is the best fit for Upson County. Our attempt to answer that is to look at a few things. You heard me talk about our capacity. We definitely have the capacity. We definitely have the experience. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, you've lost nothing. To tell you the truth, we've got so many other people who do this kind of thing that the succession planning is not an issue at all. So I feel very good about where this practice is as of today. The hours that we propose, we feel very good about that. We looked at other counties of a similar nature and what our experience is with other county governments, and we feel very good about what we've offered to you all. The time frames, you heard me say earlier, I don't do tax season, neither does Justin, neither do a lot of our people at Mullen & Jenkins. If you all told us you want to have your audit start on January 3rd, we could do it. You wanted us to start on June 3rd, we could still get it out the door probably by June 30th. It's again, just really up to you all. And the thing about that changes from year to year. You may call me up and say, hey, this year can you start in May? Next year you may say, we've got something going on and you started in February. That's fine. Just let us know when you want us to start and we'll make it happen. Other things that I thought I'd bring up is just, again, our general experience. Communication's a big part of this whole process. Accountants are not known as a personality profile of being great communicators. Is that a fair statement? It's the one thing that I really stress with our government practice is we have to be different. We have to be talking to our clients all the time. We have to be thinking out loud with them and visiting with them and prompting the conversation. And I think that's something that makes us a little different. So we do a good job of having that open dialogue on an ongoing basis. Flexible gets back to the idea that we can start and do the job whenever you want us to. It doesn't have to be just one way or the highway. We can do it any way you want to do it. Year-long support, that gets back to that communication, staying involved. Our experience with GFOA, I touched on that earlier. The bond market, I touched on that. Staff retention, that 87%, what that means is the average person that starts at Mullen & Jenkins straight out of college stays with us for at least 5 years, 87% do. That's really actually pretty high for this industry, because this industry is known as a revolving door of college graduates working for 1 or 2 years and then leaving. And we're sitting here with our people attaining 5 years experience 87% of the time. So I think that helps us with being able to be good stewards of servicing our clients and not having a revolving door of experiences coming and going each year, which that would make it very difficult for the clients if they had to learn new people every year. They're not going to do that with us. One thing with that thought as well is once somebody's owned the engagement, they stay in the engagement. So we can get that efficiency and effectiveness going forward, unless you all were to tell us, can we get some new people out here this year? If that happens, we can do that. We can bring a whole new team if you wanted us to. But we like the idea of having good retention, having people repeat and come back and get to know you that much better. So, we're very, very committed to the governmental sector. Again, it's a big part of what we do as a firm. Certainly, it's all I do. One of the questions he had was, how can we help you all improve your risk assessment program? Number one, like anybody, we would have to gain an understanding of how you all operate, the good, the bad, the ugly. We have to learn how your controls are designed and how your operations are supposed to work. Then the trick is to come in behind that and test it and make sure it is working. And that's what we do. And that gets back to how we can help you all with your risk assessment, is helping you all look at how things are processed, how things operate. Do we have the right people in the right places and doing the right things? That's how we can help you with your risk assessments. We do free continuing education for all of our clients. We've been doing this since 2009, when we were in the depths of that recession. One of the first things we saw our government's cut was training. And we thought that was a bad idea because we like an educated client's a good client. They need to stay on top of things. So we started back in 2009 having quarterly sessions that we teach twice a quarter on various topics that we think are hot topics at the time. And they're tremendously well attended. Probably have about 150 people per quarter attend these sessions that we do for free. It used to be we did it in various locations, but with the advent of Zoom and Teams and all these kind of things, we're doing it like so many places now. We're using the ability for people to train remotely, and it's been tremendously successful. People love it. Something I want to share with y'all that we do that we would love to have you all participate with as you become a client. I'll go to the next. There was another section of additional information, and all we put in there is something that I think is pertinent to this situation. Most people don't like change. Accountants, I can tell you, don't like change. Most people don't like change. Change is something that scares a lot of people sometimes. We've had over 700 transitions in the last 20 years or so. We've gone through the transitions numerous times, and I love the quote that Tim Schreier over at Augusta, Richmond County, shared with us a few years ago. He said, like most finance departments, we hate breaking in a new firm. However, Malden Jenkins made the transition practically painless. And that's because what we do is we don't come in and try to make you do things our way. We try to learn what you all do, how you do it, and we'll audit it based on that. So we're not going to come in here and say, well, here's the template, you got to do it our way. All of a sudden, if you work with the client and help them go through this change, it becomes very painless as long as we work together. And that's the way we approach things. So I love that quote from Tim from a few years ago. Again, how do we make it painless? Communication early and often. Review of prior work papers. We do that. A lot of firms that come behind us don't review our work papers, and I really don't know why, because you learn so much from doing that. You know, we review the work papers, have a lot of dialogue with different elected officials here about how things work, and it makes it go off the right way. Again, we just want to learn about what you all do, tailor our request from that, and then hopefully reduce the hours and the demand on everybody in year 2, 3 onward as we go forward. So again, that's kind of what I wanted to share with y'all. That was my attempt to address what Alan asked us to do. I hope that covered it, Alan.
It did.
So I'll see if y'all have any questions.
I have a question. Do you guys have a policy or something established in y'all's firm where you rotate your personnel for the client after a certain amount of time?
We don't have a policy, but we do it when we need to. One of the things that, you know, when I started growing this practice back in 1999, we only had 8 governments that we served. I can't do all 650. So it's a nature of picking up the client, helping the client get on their feet, get it going, and then maybe transfer it to another partner, like this young man here. He just made a partner with us in the past year. And so he'd be a natural for this to be transitioned to him and our team. But we do have the ability, whenever a client, like I said earlier, if a client says, you know what, y'all been doing the audit with the same people for about 4 or 5 years, can you bring in a new group? Absolutely. I'll introduce you to some other people, and we'll have a whole new team if you need to. When people ask that question, oftentimes I will go back to this. You've got the State Department of Audits and Accounts. The state auditor audits the state of Georgia, all the universities, and guess what? They don't rotate. It's him. It's his people. He's the one that always signs the report. Greg Rippen's his name. He's the one that signs it. So if you don't have to rotate on a $40 billion operation, maybe it's not as important. I think the most important thing is having an ongoing good relationship. The relationship needs to be with you all at the board level and with management. That's one of the things we as auditors have to do, is we have to learn how to work with both sides of the equation. You're hiring an auditor to audit your management. We have to be able to work and get along with both sides of this spectrum. And I think we do a good job of doing that.
And a follow-up to that. So of the clients that are in, that you have for municipalities and counties, how many established policies themselves where they require you to rotate?
We don't actually have very many that require that in Georgia. I tell you where we see most of that is down in Florida. Florida makes us rotate. They have a lot of mandates down there. I do a lot of work in South Carolina and Georgia, and I don't know if I have any client that makes us rotate. I can tell you this, we have picked up clients where that was their policy, and then we get into the contract, they say, well, we're going to change policy. So that's happened a lot in our favor, but we don't typically have it work against us.
Anybody else have anything?
We may have made it under 20 minutes, I'm not sure.
Sure did. Sure did. Well, thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
I said all that.
You want us to move over?
Stage has been set. The stage has been set.
Okay.
We're ready.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Greg Chapman, and I'm joined with Chris McGuire. We're both partners with Nicholas Colley and Associates. I am located out of our Dublin, Georgia office, and Chris is out of Warner Robins. I've been with the firm 16 years. Chris, you've been
Going on 11 years.
11 years. And I don't do 100% governmental. I probably do about 80%. And I spend the rest of my time working on financial institution audits. And Chris probably does about, what, 30% governmental?
Yeah, 30-40%.
But our firm is, we started back in the 70s. We serve various types of industries. Governmental is probably about 20% of our firm. And we serve various other types of industries, banking, not-for-profits, retail, mergers, acquisitions has been a growing practice in our Atlanta office. Just about any other kind of manufacturing, distribution, various, as Miller said, the typical accounting firm, we cover the gamut on that. Tax is a very big part of our firm. Not for me, almost like Miller. I do my taxes, but they're very non-complex, but not a lot of tax in my book. We are all located in Georgia. We don't have any offices in other states. We do cover about 225 team members, as I said, serve local governments, particularly in our Warner Robins and Dublin office and our Kennesaw offices. We do keep that centralized in two kind of regions of the firm. Our closest offices to Upson County would be Warner Robins and our Fayetteville offices, but again, we don't do any governmental work out of Fayetteville. We are members of the AICPA, which used to be the Certified Public Accountants, but now is a Certified Professional Accountants. The Georgia Certified Public Accountants and the BKR International, which is an association of firms. We are one of the 250 largest CPA firms in the nation, 10 of the largest Georgia-based firms in Georgia, and Atlanta's 10 fastest growing firms. We do serve various types of governmental entities, cities, counties, various authorities, airport development authorities, public boards of health, downtown development authorities, various other community service districts, water authorities, libraries, housing authorities, all types of local governments of various sizes and types. In looking at your engagement team, it would be composed of me as the partner. Our engagement review partner would be our Kennesaw engagement partner. As I mentioned before, I have about 16 years of experience. Tammy has been serving local governments for 30 years, so she would be the one that would do the final pre-issuance review on the engagement. The senior would be Stephen Bernhardt, who is in our Warner Robins office. So our team would be coming from Warner Robins, which is about an hour away. And Blake Purvis would be the staff member on that. We do have other resources that could serve on that team, IT staff, internal auditors that could serve in a support role as necessary. As far as knowledge and expertise, we do serve about 80 governmental clients throughout the state, various cities, counties, and authorities. We do also support not local governments, but state agencies. We do have a staff in our Warner Robins office that works with these Department of Community Health, Public Health, and various other state agencies with internal or indirect cost allocation plans, operations consultants. For some reason, state agencies like to break apart and reconsolidate every so many years. I don't understand it, but we have a team that helps with those internal control support with those types of things. And then we perform the audit for the Atlanta Regional Commission, which receives about $60 million in federal funding. So as Miller mentioned, a lot of single audit work as well in our local governments. That's one of our largest ones, but we also do serve some that barely cross the threshold of the $750,000 up to 600 or 60 million, one of our largest. We do also serve governments of various sizes. We serve one of the larger counties in the state. I do have a city that doesn't even qualify for an audit that's about 300 citizens, so they don't even need an audit. They get an agreed upon procedures on their DCA report. So, we are able to serve, accommodate any size of audit or any kind of consulting engagement for any size government. My core clients are around the county size, city and counties about your size, so that's typically who I serve. So our Upson County would fit into my size of governmental client. We think we could be of value to Upson County because we don't want to be just your auditor, we want to be your trusted advisor. When you need assistance, we want to be there to help you. So when you call, we want to be available to answer your questions, if there's a situation that's, if there's been an incident in the county where there's been a theft or a fraud or an incident, we want to be able to help you resolve that or come support you or to provide advice to you. That's what we want to do. We're able to help you overcome those issues when they arise. So, as Miller mentioned in his presentation, as part of the audit, we do observe and evaluate your internal control processes. That's part of the audit. But we do document and test those procedures. That's part of the audit. But then, as we go through the audit, we want to help you identify those weaknesses immediately. So we don't want to wait until the end and provide you a letter with those recommendations. We want to help you along the way. So if there's a weakness that we identify during our procedures, we want to sit down with management right away and say, hey, we've seen this opportunity for some improvements. Let's go ahead and talk about that now. Of course, we're going to put that in our documentation at the end of the audit, but let's go ahead and work on that now so that if there's something that could be improved, let's go ahead and work on it in the meantime instead of waiting to the end of the audit. And as I mentioned, anything that comes up along the way, we're there to help. Consult with the board of commissioners or the finance department to address any concerns. One thing that was a big focus for us on the banking side was use of certified internal auditors. We are one of the top firms in Atlanta as far as certified internal auditors. We've started using that on the governmental side. We do some consulting work for a couple cities in Atlanta where we do internal auditing procedures for local governments, and that is also a resource that we would have available for the county where utilize those resources, maybe not for internal audits, but utilizing those to help consult for the county in that regard. And again, we're available to help. So if you were, we think that's what makes us the best fit for the county, is that when you need us, we're here to help. As far as what we, resources to support the county, we are members of the AICPA Governmental Audit Quality Center, and we do participate in governmental CPE throughout the year, as every governmental auditor does. We do communicate with our clients throughout the year as far as what's the hot topics going on in the governmental CPE and that type of thing. So we do stay in contact with our clients on what's coming down the pipe and provide advice, research, and resources to our clients. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No,
Thank
sir.
you.
I think we're good, but I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I need you to change gears a little bit. I'm Rashan Adams with Driver Adams and Sharp, and I think I speak for Jeff and Sydney when I tell you, thank you very much for the opportunity and invitation to come and present to you tonight. While we were planning very early in the morning and preparing for this presentation, we thought about doing PowerPoint, and we decided not to. We decided we just wanted to have a conversation with you and talk to you and use more of an informal approach than a formal approach. So that's why we do not have data and graphs and charts on the big screen. I think the question that we have gotten the most that I wanted to address first with you is, what is this collaboration with Driver Adams and Sharp and Fulton and Kozak? And I'll do my best to very quickly summarize that for you so that you understand. In 2025, there are going to be quality management standards that become effective, and they drastically impact a small firm and that performs audit work. And so when Sydney and I learned about this and the impact it was going to have on us in 2022, in the summer of 22, we started researching, talking to our colleagues, talking to friends in the industry, to consultants on how do we address this? Do we merge? Do we sell? Do we get out of it? What do we do? We finally decided that if we could find a firm that had areas of expertise that we have, that serve similar clients that we do, and that this firm cared about quality and cared about client relationships as much as we do, that we thought that would be a good fit. And I think we found that with Fulton and Kozak. And I hope they feel the same. So I'm going to speak to you about all the data and all the stuff that Alan asked us to present to you, and I'm speaking to you from a point of a combined staff of our firm and Fulton and Kozak together. We have a total staff of 20, and 8 of those staff members are designated as audit staff. Driver Adams and Sharp and Fulton and Kozak perform audits for governmental entities, nonprofit organizations, and construction and distribution entities, but you probably just care about the governmental entities. So we do 16 governmental entities of various sizes, and they are all within a 60-mile radius of you, so we do serve your surrounding counties as well, and we serve municipalities as well. Airport authorities, development authorities, libraries, different types. Cindy and I also work with several other governmental entities on audit readiness and cleanup work. Maybe they don't have the staff on board, or maybe they don't have the staff qualified to get them ready for their audit. So we will go on in and get them ready for their audit as well. All of the staff, all the 8 staff have governmental experience, but there will be 4 that would be assigned to Upson County, and you probably saw our profiles in our RFP packet. But the 4 of us together combined have over 63 years of experience in governmental auditing and accounting. Victoria has 7 years, Jeff has 18 years, Sydney has 11 years, and I'm the oldest one in the bunch, and I have 27 years. So together we have 63 years, which I think speaks to, we may be small, but we're mighty, and I think that speaks to our depth and our breadth of our experience and the audit team that you would be getting here, and continue to get here with Upson County. With us, because we are smaller, I think you would continue, or feel confident that you would continue to see the same level of upper level staff and the same partners. We get in, we're from the ground up, every aspect of the audit we're here. And so we would continue to have a good idea of what's working well and what's not working well, and continue to advise you on that. If I were sitting in your shoes, if I were in that chair behind that podium, I would think, well, all that collaboration's great. How does that benefit Upson County? And you know how it benefits me and Sydney, because we get to keep working and do what we love, but how does it benefit you and the county? And I think it benefits Upson County in that with us, you're gonna get the collaboration and you're gonna get the benefit of working with a firm that has a history with you. We know your processes, we know your people, we know your history. But you're also gonna get a fresh set of eyes, because you're gonna have Jeff and you're gonna have Victoria. They're gonna be having a fresh set of eyes, so you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. I know Ben has mentioned, or asked the question about the rotation. So you're gonna get that, you're gonna get the best with that. Plus, you're gonna get it all with a fair price, and you're gonna get to keep the majority of the audit fees in the local economy. You know me, you know Sydney, but you don't know Jeff. So I feel like I need to do a little bit of introduction to him, or for him, in all fairness. Jeff has a lifelong history in accounting. His dad was a CPA, or is a CPA, he's retired. But Jeff and his college roommate bought out his dad's firm and formed the firm of Fulton and Kozak. Jeff graduated from Berry College and served as a Marine in the Persian Gulf War. One of our, to me, great teachers and influences in our profession is a gentleman named Mr. Charles Hall, and he's a CPA out of Macon. And he often posts on LinkedIn about different topics in our profession, and we follow along. So in the fall, October, November, we had just met Jeff. We had talked to him. I'm not sure we had met him in person. But Mr. Hall did a post, and he was talking in this post about when you walk into certain firms, you can just feel the positivity. And he referenced two firms in that post, and one of those firms was Jeff's firm. It was Fulton and Kozak. And Sydney and I have certainly benefited from Jeff's positive attitude and his positive perspective. He's a great guy, he's a great CPA, he's a great colleague, and I really do hope that you'll get the chance to meet with him and get to know him and work with him as well. So I will turn it over to Jeff.
Thanks, Shannon. So again, I'd like to echo that we are really excited about this opportunity. We appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you and tell you why we think our firm is a really good fit for Upson County. As Rashan said, we don't audit. We audit 16 local 16 local governments, which means you guys would be a very important client to us. You would be a very important client because we want to maintain those relationships. Accounting, people think accounting's a numbers business. Accounting is a numbers business, but it's really a relationship and communication business. We strive hard to develop those relationships. We strive hard to cultivate those relationships, and we understand each client is unique. We get to know each client, through the test work that we do. We're going to test your internal controls. We're going to gain an understanding of your internal controls, and then we're going to test them, and then we're going to give recommendations. We're going to make sure, and some of those recommendations may be formal, but some of those recommendations may be just, hey, maybe you want to think about doing it this way. Maybe you want to think about doing it this way. So many recommendations elevate to the board level, but many recommendations can be just handled face to face. Hey, we see this. Maybe you want to change this. Maybe you want to tweak this. Not every recommendation is something that has to raise to the level, unless that's something that you desire. We really think that mix of rolling out, the thing that you're going to find with us is that we're not afraid to roll up our sleeves. We're not afraid to get into the details. We're not afraid to pick apart the details of the organization and the transactions. We're going to trace them all the way through. We're going to make sure we understand what's happening. More importantly, we're going to understand the framework from which the organization processes its transactions, and make sure that you've got the right framework to mitigate fraud. You have the right framework. Nobody's going to stop fraud 100%. Fraud happens. And you just want to have the right framework to keep your employees honest. And we're going to work with you, and we're going to work with your staff to make sure that you all have the right framework to keep your employees honest. And if something happens, that you've got the right framework to catch it. So, I think our value that we're going to bring to you guys is that technical expertise. We got the technical expertise. We reach out to our compatriots. We network a lot with our fellow CPAs, also in government and single audit, and we ask them what best practices are to approach certain. If there's a unique issue, we're going to ask for. We're not afraid to go out and ask a consultant, one of our peer CPAs, what they think. So you get an outside perspective there. But at the same time, we're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to see the details. We got the technical expertise, but we have the practical knowledge to understand your unique situation. And I think that's what's going to differentiate us, and that's why we're a good fit for you guys. And so, it's a real honor to be here tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to Sydney to bring us home.
I'm kind of regretting not having a PowerPoint right now, so I can follow along. So they kind of presented the facts and data and followed along with Alan's sheet with the bullet points. And I want to kind of talk about the why we're passionate about our jobs and why we're good at what we do and why you should choose us. Nobody would really call us a huge firm. That's how we want it. We like that. We all pass the same exact exams. We all abide by the same set of audit standards. Ultimately, we're all accountable to our clients and the taxpayers. Our size, to me, allows us to be selective about the governments we audit. It allows us as partners to be completely involved and at the forefront of the audit processes. As one of our governments, you will be among only a few, and you'll be served with utmost attention. You're important to us. The taxpayers are important to us. In closing, there are 3 facts I think are undeniable. 1, you know us. You'll continue to get the same great service. Plus, you get the fresh eyes with Jeff. So, like Rashan said, you get the best of both worlds. 2, our bid was fair and competitive and reflects the level of service the county deserves. 3, 80% of those audit fees will remain in Upson County. I bring that up because that has been the main question we've gotten about collaboration. Everybody wants to know the gist of it until we start talking audit standards at the board. So they just want to know how it turns out. Ultimately, we want to be selected as your auditor because we're good at what we do, and we've proven that to you. We have gone through your internal controls. We know your internal controls. We know where you're weaker. We learn new things, and y'all change things constantly. So we'll continue to monitor that. But that is something I think that we brushed on quite a good bit last year. Upson County is our home. We love to work here. We love being a part of it, and we hope you'll select us as your auditor.
Anybody got any questions? Questions? I have one. So the engagement would be with Fulton and Kozak, and you guys, is that the way I understand how it would be? And you guys are kind of like, for lack of a better word, subcontractors?
Yes, but
Put it in a contractor,
as part of the
subcontractor.
agreement, we will be, Rashan and I will remain your auditors. We will be at the forefront. Of course, we're lucky to have Jeff that we can consult with. He'll look at it too. We'll all work together, but she and I will still be your contacts. We'll still do the bulk of the work.
Anybody have anything else? Jason?
Mr. Chairman, my question would be just a quick for all 3. I don't know if you want to. We've spent a lot of time, especially the chairman and I, with different representatives from S&P and Moody's on ratings calls, and it was just a quick question to all 3, if you choose to pose it. what your experience with assisting on ratings calls, being part of the debt issuance team. So that would be my question to really just.
Well, worded so that they understand it. You were trying to dummy it down for me. So word it so they'll understand it, and if y'all don't mind, just field that one.
Just quickly, experience, being there for your clients, assisting when we're going through debt issuance, just if you could real briefly, each of you, and we can go in the same order that each person presented, if that's okay with the chairman. Just a quick 1 minute, hit it and quit it on your experience, like going through that process with your clients.
Well, you saw on one of my slides, we talked about how heavy our experience is with issuing bond debt, and a lot of our clients have been doing a lot of it over the years. We've got some that are huge. George Port's Authority just issued $1.4 billion. We were very involved in that transaction as well. We've got clients that sometimes only have to issue $3 or $4 million, depending on what's going on. We're involved. We're involved more than just doing the accounting and the comfort letters and the agreed upon procedure and all the things that the underwriters require. We're also involved in helping them establish some of the better things to talk to the rating agents about and what's the best thing happening here, and helping people analyze their financial statements. It's also one of the things when we have a client that wants to go to the bond market, if they're not already getting a certificate from the GFOA, we think that's probably the one time that you really need to do it and do it right, because a bond rating person is just like any of us. They're human. And if they see that you're putting together an ACFR, which is what the abbreviation is, the Annual Comprehensive Report, when they see that you're doing that, which took a lot of work to get there, and it takes a lot of work to keep, that speaks volumes to them. That says to them that government is really from the top down wanting to do the best, to be the best of the best. We're usually involved in all those kind of dynamics as well when our clients are talking about going to the bond market. So we've got a lot of clients that raise the bar on themselves. We help them raise the bar on themselves before they go out to the market and such things.
Yeah, I mean, similar, I've had several in recent years that's issued bond debt and issuing comfort letters, consent. I mean, and then the same with doing the ACFRs. That all strengthens their bond ratings and puts them in a stronger position for issuing that. And we have several clients that issue the full ACFR reports and gets a certificate of achievement that puts them in a strong position for their bond ratings.
Unfortunately, I have the experience of working with a government that likes to issue a lot of bonds. So I've got quite a bit of experience with it, but I think what would differentiate us would be I help my client understand the paperwork that's coming from the various entities that, like when they're getting ready to issue the bonds. So it's not just that we're doing the different things that the underwriters are requiring. I'm sitting in the Director of Finance's office and helping them understand the paperwork that's coming through, because a lot of times governments don't have that expertise in your guys' office. So I would say we've got quite a bit of experience with it.
Sure, and for us, we've, in the last couple of years, we've had 2 municipalities that have gone to the bond market that, we helped them get prepared to do it because we shepherded before they weren't doing an ACFR, and we had been on them for years to do an ACFR, and we shepherded them through that process. We shepherded them through gathering all the data. Getting an ACFR for the first time is a major undertaking. We helped them get the data. We helped them shepherd them through the process. And then they were able to issue financial statements, which had the ACFR, and they've submitted for the GFOA. So we've got that sort of experience. We talked to and a lot of our clients issue bonds for various and sundry reasons. And if you're in government, the money has been really cheap. It's going to be a little bit harder to come by these days with the interest rates, but we've got some experience doing that too.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts? Okay, so, well, as Jason indicated, I mean, this is just to kind of get to know the three of you, of the group, and it's not a decision that we're taking lightly, and a lot of effort has gone into getting to this point. Unfortunately, we've had to play, the benefit of having to sit back and let Jason and Alan and you guys do a lot of legwork to get to this point. So I really appreciate the time and effort that you spent to get here. And I think we've got some very good options, and we'll discuss it at our next work session, and then we'll make that decision at our next meeting. So I really appreciate you coming down. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, hey, for everybody in the room, now, we got a lot of other business left to go. You ain't got to leave. I know, we're on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube, so thank y'all.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
All right.
Good to see you.
Golly, y'all.
I thought I was going to too.
Okay.
I cleared the road.
The rest of it's free. As somebody said, it's on the.
All right.
The rest of the meeting is free.
Okay, if we can move on. Next is the discussion and possible consideration of request for proposal for a paving project.
Mr. Chairman, this is just a very simple item, and I think we had reported to the board in the work session where we were. But after EMC has gone through the final review, they're comfortable recommending the apparent low bidder for our paving project, which ended up to be Robinson Paving. You'll see that summary sheet in your agenda package, but I'll just go over it again real quick. So the Robinson Paving specifically, their base bid, including all three of the alternates, was $3,733,128.02. So, and that was within a very small percentage of what the engineer's estimate was for the project. So EMC's engineering reviewed the submissions and is comfortable recommending the apparent low bidder of Robinson Paving, and so is the staff.
Okay.
And that would include all three alternates. Just a quick review, alternate 1 was the library parking lot, alternate 2 was Rocky Creek Road, and alternate 3 was Thurston School Road.
Okay. All right, so gentlemen, you have it for you, recommendation from staff to approve the Robinson Paving, award Robinson Paving the contract for this this paving project. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we take staff's recommendation and accept Robinson Paving.
Okay, for $3,733,128.02. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
So I have a motion made and seconded to approve award Robinson Paving the contract for the paving project that's been defined for the tune of $3,733,128.02. Any further discussion?
When is the start date?
So with notice to proceed, I think Chris told me it would take about 3 or 4 days. And then in the contract, I think the completion was 180 from notice to proceed. The good news is, and Mr. Chairman, we'll get into this a little later, but some of the crews who will be doing this work are actually already here.
Okay. Different equipment.
Working on emergency work for us. Yeah.
Different equipment. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Okay, next, discussion on Thurston Well rehab.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think you had asked to include this as a discussion item, and I'm prepared with some information. I'm just not exactly sure what the board wants to hear. What I do have are cost estimates as of September of last year. So the preliminary engineering on this has been done for 3 years. It was updated in September of last year to go in for our most recent grant proposal, which is still outstanding. So the revised amount from September of last year has a project budget of $838,850.
$838,850. Okay. And it's in limbo, waiting for the state to release the second tranche of ARPA money.
Right.
And we don't know when or if that's going to happen.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, and briefly what that is, and I'll do my best, I had told our engineer that he could come at 7 because we had 3 audit presentations and we sped by them, but I've got his notes with me, so fear not. So the recommendation would be to construct a new 8-inch diameter, 350 gallon per minute well house backup generator with all associated controls, chemical feeds in accordance with EPD regulations. Cost estimates for the proposed well and associated well house would include permitting and engineering. The primary benefit of this recommended option would be to provide double the existing capacity.
And that was 350 gallons per minute?
GPM.
Yeah. Wow.
Our pro sitting in there in the back, he's nodding his head.
Oh,
Yes,
there he is.
yes, you did it right, boss. So, which is good. I get it right every once in a while. And I could go on more specifics. If you have any specific questions about the proposal, I'm sure Ben can answer anything more specific, or I can dive into the.
Where did they get the preliminary numbers from?
These were done by EMC, our engineering.
EMC.
Where are you?
Ta-da!
Right on
I
time.
want to know the name of the firm that provided that information. Chris?
Need to bring him up, he don't know what we're talking about. We're talking about Thurston Well, perfect timing.
Yes, sir.
So basically what we said is, to date, right now, where we're at with the discussion is, you guys updated the project estimates back in September for the grant submission, running around $838,000.
Yes, sir.
And he talked about, 8-inch pipe, 350 gallons per minute, and some of those other things that I didn't get a chance to write down. So then Commissioner Ellington now would like to know.
Yeah, what companies did we talk with to get those information? Because I know initially when we looked at this about 4 years ago, there was some companies that y'all were using to give some estimates that were talking about some soils that we don't even have here.
Right, so we talked with the guy that's been doing all the maintenance on the well, and I think he drilled the first well.
Okay.
David, I don't remember.
Randy
his name.
Chastain.
Yes, David Chastain. And he's the one that provided us documents and estimates, as well as we talked with Coggins, who's a local contractor, who's very familiar. I think they've done some maintenance and emergency work. So when we tightened that shop group for that last submission, I felt good that at that time we had very good numbers from people that knew what was going on.
Okay, right. You answered my question.
So this is basically it's going to be a new system out there.
Yes, sir. So
Except
we're
for the
doing a
tank.
brand new well, the whole 9 yards. We would use the existing system as a backup, so it won't be all gone for naught. But you're getting a new house, a new everything. At the time when we were dealing with the previous public works director, separating his chlorination and kind of cleaning up the way the operation was run was a big deal that we incorporated into our design. So that kind of what you see nowadays is updated, and I think this was a gas chlorination system where you guys got bags and mixing it and doing a lot of chemistry in there right now. So it does change a little bit about the maintenance and the manpower it takes to run the system.
Do we have I haven't looked, who owns the property there?
We own.
You guys,
we
it's
had
on
the
the
whole
parcel.
park, so it'd be very close to where we're at.
Yes, sir. It's probably the way that we located well point was probably about 100 foot to where the existing well was. Because all we wanted to pipe into the existing tank and everything. We're not getting a new elevator storage
Right.
tank. So let's make that clear. That number did not include a new elevator storage tank.
So all that new pipe we just put in the ground.
Yeah. That was to
That
get
goes
us
from
back.
the tank to that area, that's still good.
I have a question for Ben, and I don't want to catch him off guard. How many homes or businesses or residents does that well serve? Approximately.
Probably 1,900.
Okay, and we got 2,600 total customers on our well system. And what do? We sell water. So if you don't have the product to sell,
We
then
buy
you don't-
water.
We buy water. and we're profitable in our enterprise. So why are we not investing in our business? What are we waiting for grants for? We begged and we've sent out these grants. I would love to get a grant, but it ain't like we're buying cars for building and zoning. That doesn't pay us back. We're selling water. This is going to pay the note back. We're selling a product. Well, I don't get it. It baffles me that we would just keep pushing it down the road. And buying water from the city is what I hear. Well, we can buy water from the city. Well, we all know when we had the freeze, what happened? The city couldn't sell us water because they didn't have water. So I don't want us to depend on it. Just look, it's a business, it's an enterprise, it's profitable. Invest in your business.
Well,
With that scenario.
And you're gonna put me on the defense here a little bit, because we've been sitting here and you know, it's always better to try to spend someone else's money before you spend our money. And we've tried.
For the whole 5 years.
But we're at it, 4 years, so now it's, we went through the freeze and we saw what happened. And so, we have the money in splashed. I mean, yeah, it'd be great to use $830,000 for new asphalt somewhere. If we proceeded with this, are we handcuffing ourselves with the grant? If they haven't started, if we haven't signed a contract or anything, this is going to take a little bit to put it out there.
My recommendation would be, and speaking for staff, I think staff's ready to move too, and we agree. And it may help us, because what we could do is say, all right, well, once we open these bids, we're gonna say you need to hold these bids for 80 days or 90 days rather than 30 days or 45 days. And that will give us time to go back to the same people that we've been talking with before and say, all right, we know we have estimates, now we've got bids back. This is what it's gonna do to our capital budget if we've gotta pay this locally, you know? It takes us to the next step. It shows that, hey, it's now a shovel-ready project. It's designed and ready to be done. So that would be your last-ditch effort to go to lawmakers and influencers to say, we're going to give this one last shot. It's shovel-ready, ready to go. So I'm supportive of the approach.
We talking about taking it to the next level. Jason and I went and met with our state senator yesterday, and two things we talked about was mainly about a bridge on Hannah's Mill Road that we desperately needed funding for that, and then we wanted to know when the state was going to release the ARPA money that they have and start awarding that second round of grants. That's something we've been waiting on now for well over a year.
Well, since we made it, that last submission was...
The last one was September, back then, but we tried before.
Right.
And so, I think it was 2011 SPLOST that had a project for Thurston Well, or was it 16?
That was 16.
16
had Lincoln Park.
Well at Thurston and Lincoln Park. So, and I'm all supportive of this. I say, we can't, we've got those folks out there, and we can't handcuff ourselves to, because and I know if they have the ability to sell us water and get water to us, they're good neighbors. They're going to get it to us. Right. But when it comes down to, if I've only got a gallon, where's it going to go? It ain't going to come to us. We've got the capacity out there. We just need to move forward. And then I challenge us going forward is, what is the future of the water system? Are we just going to maintain status quo? How are we going to, what's the future of it? Are we going to grow it? Are we happy with it? There's, we know, and that's a whole nother conversation. But the first thing, you gotta have the water.
That's right.
Or you can't grow it. So,
I have a question, I don't know who would answer it, but if we proceed with it, don't get the grant, will the rates be affected? To offset anything?
would the what be affected?
The rates.
Water rates?
I can take a stab at that generally. What's in the 2016 SPOS is a fixed amount. It's not 800,000, and it's less than that.
Right.
So one of the ways to make up that difference would be to use fund balance from that enterprise fund. So then we would have to have our finance staff look at that, tell us where that puts that enterprise fund, and then do we have to adjust the rates to make sure that we're not that we're not putting ourselves in a bad position moving forward from a financial standpoint. So
When was
just
the
to put
last
it
time we
simply,
had a rate adjustment on water?
Not since I've been here.
2015.
Really? 8 years?
We have an extraordinarily efficient staff.
How does it compare to the other?
I think we got very comparable rate.
Okay.
So the answer to that is it's likely to affect the rate a little, because it would be a combination of capital and
I mean,
enterprise revenue.
I mean, we're not talking about having to go out and get a GFA loan to do this work. I mean, we.
It would be an option for sure.
It sure
I mean,
would.
Low interest loan.
I think
through
it probably,
GFA.
I think that'd probably be the way we probably need to.
And one thing I can add, Mr. Chairman.
Let the enterprise
The
pay
the
for it.
2023 CDBG competition ends June the 2nd, so we still have a time to submit for it again. And I like what the county mayor said, if we take our preliminary engineering report and have either a design analysis report or even bid docs in our submittal, put that as your match, because that's another big thing that we had when we had our scoring. The communities are upping the matching to get that money, because we know there's a finite pot of money for CDBG, and when it used to be 100 communities, now it's 200 communities going after that same pot, and matching 20% versus 50%, the skin in the game aspect starts paying off when they look at these evaluations. So we have time to either, as Commissioner Elton said, submit, green light this project, and hopefully the worlds align and we're crossing at the same time that we get an award for CDBG.
Shovel ready can be more compelling.
What would be a very competitive local match?
Well, the most competitive local match would be to go to submit, say, you know, our 2016 SPOS estimate was this. This is what the project is. So just dedicate what's in the SPOS, and that's going to be 50% of the project, or 60% of the project, and then try to get the other 40 funded. So just to give you an idea, what we submitted the last 1, 2, 3 times was engineering county paid, and then 100% grant.
Okay.
And it's probably why we.
30% is what we're seeing is the
Right.
tipping point.
And every year the
Other
cost
communities
keeps increasing and we keep asking.
So what you need from us tonight is kind of the green light through a consensus to run with this thing, and do you need some concurrence from us as to, okay, what our local match would be?
Yeah, just direction to staff to put this on the street for bid is really all we would need to do.
Put it on the street for bid and move forward with the CDBG grant?
Right, and then we would bring you funding options if no grant became available when it was time to award.
So if they're due in June, they'll award them when?
I think it's
Fall.
around October-ish. I think it's September, October-ish.
So, okay, so funding aside, what would the timeline be to see somebody going out there and start the work?
It's about a 90-day design period. You got to go through EPD to get permission to drill and all of that. So probably 120 days for
Any
advertising.
concern about getting that permission to drill?
No, sir. It's just a formality and subject to staffing and everything else.
if we didn't have the well already, it would be completely different.
Yes, if you wanted a new potable water source, that's a whole different thing. We've already we've looked at the withdrawal permit, we've got plenty of capacity to withdraw from the aquifer that we're currently pulling from, so we're not increasing, we're not adding any limitations to the upper end.
Right.
So, I mean, you guys are blessed to have a great source of water and have permission to withdraw a significant more amount than what we're currently doing.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask our staff a question real quick? Ben, are we 500,000 gallon permit?
No, we're 150 gallon minute per well.
It's 500,000, a withdrawal permit.
Yeah, withdrawal permit,
Yeah, from the
yeah,
aquifer.
yeah. So even what we're designing would be below?
Absolutely,
So
well
what
below
Chris
that.
is saying is absolutely accurate. It's a formality to get the permit, so.
Yeah,
Because we've already got the permission to
The
withdraw.
well's a 400 gallon minute well, but the limitation is the size of the pipe. It's a 6-inch well.
That's correct.
So they can't put a bigger pump in there without drilling a bigger well.
Over-reaming, and that's what we talked about with the existing. If you try to over-ream it, it's already collapsed, it's uncased, you're just asking for trouble. And that's the first thing that when we talked with the well driller, he was dead set against trying to over-ream and utilize what we already got.
Well, I mean, if you think, new EPD rule is gonna change it a lot.
That's right. Well, one thing that we ran into when we did this in other communities, you start getting water quality issues when you start doing your samples and trying to get a passing sample, you get turbidity and other things when you start messing with an existing well point. So sometimes it gets you almost spoil the existing trying to correct an issue.
So, talking about the existing though, so we're estimating $838,000.
And
For the new,
just in case you need to refresh.
but what we're gonna do at the same time is we're gonna refurbish the old, right? Or that's not part of this?
That's
scope?
not, this is a brand new, this has nothing to do with any maintenance or any type of.
Or any upgrades to
Cap it
the,
off.
Well, we're going to utilize that as a backup.
Use
So
backup,
if
yeah.
something happens, if to help Ben and his staff, if they needed to swap something apart out,
That's right.
this will be piped into it. You turn a valve, flip a switch, and we've got something to do. And we'll get together on a maintenance program that at least fire it up every now and then, because we don't want to have a generator, don't have gas in it. We want to make sure that when we need it, it works, and it can offset it to make it where it's not, when you got an outage, you have something to worry about, that you're not shutting down multiple customers.
but I suspect there's probably work that needs to happen on the existing one out there
That's
above the
looking-
ground.
Yes, sir, that's something that we can look at during our, maybe as a caveat to this project, maybe loop it in with it. May not be, you can't get CBG funds for it, I don't think, but look at doing a maintenance package. We already talked about having some spare parts, an inline pump on the shelf, or at least a contract in
A contract
place
where somebody
that
can-
lightning strikes, it blows out. He's already coming, he's got it on the shelf, part number, everything, pull, drop, walk away, you still got water.
Well, I mean, I imagine when you put the new system in, you're gonna get rid of the old injection system, building and everything, right?
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, so-
It'll be a nice center block building, something that's durable,
Okay.
lasting, up to code.
All right, so, direction to staff, just move forward, get the bids out, get
Yeah.
ready to apply for CDBG.
Yeah, at least get the bids out, and then, we'll know how close the engineer was.
Okay, and it may be,
Don't need to ask me.
and I got my fingers crossed that the conversation yesterday.
Too many times.
Yeah, I got my fingers crossed that the conversation that we had yesterday and we continue to have with our state officials helps us in freeing up some of this money, because we definitely got some infrastructure projects we got to move forward with. Roads, bridges, wells. So, back to the basics.
One more comment. This is going to satisfy Thurston well, right? We're not gonna say, well, we forgot to design that part. It's all there, right?
This gives you everything to have, for lack of words, a brand new system sitting on the same piece of property, filling that tank up that we're drawing from.
And pumping it over the
Utilizing
mountain,
the same
all the way to
permit.
north side.
Does anybody know how old that system currently is, or approximately maybe?
the wells or just?
Yeah, the setup out there, when's the last time it was?
Well, if Randy did it, Randy's 60, so.
Randy's daddy.
I mean, we've pulled the well several
Right.
times, but as far as the piping, I don't know.
I guess 60-ish or something like that.
Okay. Whenever they got into the water business, I imagine. So, okay. Well, any other things on Thurston Well before we move on?
We need to vote on it.
No, I think we just provided some. Do you want to?
It might be helpful just to maybe a vote to,
Okay, so
instruct staff to put it out,
Okay, so.
to get it designed and put it out.
I guess what I'll ask for then, can I have a motion to direct staff to move forward with bidding out the well project and to move forward with the application for a CDBG block grant? That sound right?
Yeah.
Can I have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion that we,
Do
allow
just
staff to do just that, put out an RFP on the well, the total project, and move forward with the grant submissions, as if one or the other's gonna come to fruition soon, and we will be working on this well by October.
I'll second that.
Okay. So I have a motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is the update on storm damages and road repairs. And before we even get into the update, let me tell you, I just how appreciative I am of staff, our engineers, and the host of people that you guys assembled to come in and get moving on all these roads. I actually had somebody tell me today, man, I can't believe y'all got Jeff Davis Road open so fast. I said, well, I was actually a little disappointed it took us this long, but yeah, weather hampered us a little bit, material hampered us a little bit, but we're moving on. And Jason, I really appreciate Ms. Fuentes out there at the road department keeping us up to date on a lot of this stuff, but I think that's what you're about to tell us, where we're currently at on this.
Yeah, so I'll give you just the latest basics, and then Chris can jump in on some of the larger project details. But so where we stand, and let me make sure this was as of yesterday. The roads that continue to remain closed until further notice is McCrary Road, Jones Road to Highway 74, Franklandale, Highway 19 behind the Fish Peddler Restaurant, Odom Road at 134 Odom Road, Goshen Road, the dirt portion at the bridge, and Dripping Rock Road at our bridge that's the usual suspect on the county line.
The usual.
Now Macquarie Road, is it both washouts on Macquarie?
No, sir, it's just the one with the double barrel 108 corrugated metal pipe. We had a material supply issue. They're actually running the 108 Thursday, and we should have it first part of next week.
So the one that we had to go out and collapse so that we could build up for that one citizen to be able to get out, that one's fixed. It's the bigger one.
That's right. It's the
The huge one. It's more.
where we've got
towards
good
the highway.
access that right now being closed does not really affect. It's an inconvenience, but it's not
Yeah.
precluding anyone to get in or emergency services to respond.
Okay.
So a couple of things out of that, Mr. Chairman. We finally got a visit from FEMA. So they went to each of the, I believe, 11 different washouts or road issues that we had. They went with our staff, our road superintendent, 2 members from EMA, and one of our fire chiefs. We hosted FEMA for an afternoon. So they were here looking at Upson, Meriwether, Troop, Spalding, Crawford, I think
Yes, sir.
is right. So with the idea that, and I think Commissioner Wilder may have a little bit to add, because we're talking about some nuances in the federal rules as far as FEMA is concerned. In essence, what I think we're trying to do as a state is come up with $18 million total as a state to even qualify for a federal declaration from the White House. So
Didn't it
we
knock out Hannah's Mill Bridge?
I think it did.
I think, now that you mention that. So we've been through that process. They've been here. We've given them the estimates. They've seen the work. They've taken pictures. So, hopefully they'll be able to add that to the total. We still don't have a determination yet. But it sounds like some of our senators, and I can let Commissioner Wilder kind of speak to that if I get it wrong, but are looking at a provision in that law that might be able to combine the tornado event that was suffered in Troup County with the rain event that happened a few weeks later, because it happened within a certain time period. So our state folks, our GEMA folks, are really on top of this, trying to get this done.
And
for us.
I'll tell you, Mr. Ferguson was over here and spoke to me, and that was one of the things he mentioned, was not only just that 2-day event, it was like, if you look at our area, and it was like event after event after event, being able to sum up all the damage for that time frame, and that gets you to that. So I know on the House side, and I know you're talking on the Senate side.
Yes. And we have got to provide them with more information. That's what he asked before, and I told him I'd do it within the next few days. But they are willing to listen. I didn't get a good warm fuzzy as about when we were going to get it there, or if we were going to get there, but they want to listen, provide them with whatever our concerns were in Upson County, and that's what I need to provide them. I sent them an email back a couple of days ago, and I told them I will give them a more detailed report letter in a few days.
Well, the concern is we're about, what, 1.5, give or take, in road repairs from that event. And and the great thing was, we're in a position to where the conversation was like, oh my God, how are we going to pay for this? It was, okay, how fast can they mobilize and get here and get these roads open? So, kudos to everyone for allowing us to be in that position and getting out there, because it significantly impacted those folks, a lot of folks everywhere, but primarily in the western part of the county. So,
and the separate track staff is running, and we actually started this track first before we started talking with GEMA and FEMA. Is that there could be some potential state assistance for us out there if the federal assistance falls through. So we're actually building these projects as if they were LMEG projects, and we're going to populate our LMEG submission database with it, basically exactly what you have in your packet,
right,
by road, by project. And then they said that if we're not successful getting federal dollars, they might be able to help us. Not entirely, it sounds like, but at least help us some. So we'll run both tracks. I'll work with Commissioner Wilder.
And when we start getting the bill for this, how are we paying for it? Is it coming out of general fund?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hey, just want everybody to know it's coming out of general fund.
Isn't
Fund
there
balance.
something in our packet?
Yeah, so I'll probably let Alan speak to that, but I'm assuming it's fund balance, but perhaps he's got.
I know these folks doing that work are sitting back waiting on
These aren't really
Yeah.
SPLOST projects. There might be a potential to use T-SPLOST on them, but I think that the better story would be to use. Because essentially, those referendums have determined what those projects would be. This is really just repair. So to me, the appropriate way, I think, would just be fund balance from general fund, and it's also a better story too.
Alan's nodding his head. So. Okay.
I like to see affirming nods from my staff.
Any other questions on road repairs, damages? Again,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Now, the paving section of that, is that coming out of this new paving contract?
No.
No, sir, we if I can speak that, we had, each contract includes those patching in their fees, and I talked with both companies, and they plan to mobilize one end of next week to start paving, and then the following week would be the rest of it. So.
And they're each, Coggins is doing their own thing, Robinson's doing their own thing. They're not trying to
They
work
chose
together.
not
and
to
bring-
work together, but we offer that.
Yeah.
That was something that we brought, as, the chairman said, just kind of updates and not to be a dead horse, but we got the call, the county manager and I were texting back and forth the 25th and 26th of March, which was a Saturday and Sunday. We showed up with the chairman, the road superintendent, and the manager on the 27th. By the 28th, we had 2 little boys with iron on the job site at Andrews Chapel, putting in 96-inch pipe. So, in my experience, that you guys hit it right, and kudos to you.
No, it's
You
good.
for
It's
doing
to
that.
road department, you guys, y'all made it happen. Y'all were just feeling some heat from us. Because, I mean, getting Jeff Davis Road open was pretty impressive.
I think that was a week max that I don't even think it was out a week
No.
when it was all said and done.
And these other ones we got, like Franklin Dale Road, it's,
Pipes in the ground, they're just, I was out there yesterday morning just trying to get it finished up. And then Odom is the last one that Coggins is doing, and they've already got pipe on the ground there too. So once they get done with Franklinville, which should be tomorrow, they'll mobilize out there. And like I said on McQuarrie, the big issue was just getting the pipe ran.
And
I have a question. Are they replacing guardrails and stuff?
Yes, sir. So that, after we get the paving done, then the guardrail and signage and striping will come after that. So it will be like or better as we come back into it.
Or for FEMA's sake, like.
Like,
It'll be
yes.
just like.
Yeah, we didn't, the only thing that we did change, there was some availability, and we got the okay from GMA was if you had a 60-inch corrugated metal pipe, but there was none to be had, we flipped it to RC, reinforced concrete pipe, and they allowed the material substitution due to availability.
I don't know if y'all all got to go out there and see some of this stuff, but that, it was just amazing, the amount of damage that we had. And power of water is something else, but I'm telling you, it's going to win. The size pipes that moved, it was unbelievable. One last question. Dripping Rock Road. So that's at that bridge that we're trying to, are we working to get that repaired, or is that?
So from talking with Mr. James, it's basically a roadbed issue. I mean, he feels like he could fix it, at least get it passable, just when he has time to get staff out there. I don't know where we stand on the GMA. I don't think we heard anything
We
from that
haven't.
submission.
So it's just some basic road work out, not basic, but some road work out there, and then it'll be passable, and hopefully we'll get funding to take care of that bridge out there. Okay.
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
On these bids for this, or do you get the unit cost for some of these exemptions up front? For like unsuitable soils and stuff? I know they don't include it, but do you get that up front?
We're kind of working it on the fly because we kind of,
Yeah.
it was kind of like, we came up with an estimate, this is the quantity we need, go to town. I haven't had anybody come back and say, we need to change what we've already put in there. So another thing that you don't see, the county purchased the pipe on all of these that were corrugated or corrugated metal. So those are costs that be added to what you're seeing, the cost from the contractors. Now, all the RCP pipe was purchased by the contractor. And then what you're not seeing is the McQuarrie, what we call McQuarrie 1, which was the double 108, just because we were looking at multiple options on how to solve that problem. And it was just, I think last Tuesday was when FEMA was in town, and that's when we decided to go back with the double run of 108. And that number is going to be, from a contractor standpoint, not cost of the pipe, it's going to be around $300.
And Mr. Chairman, I had one thing, just as a reminder, all 11 of these projects were done well outside of our standard purchasing policies and procedures. This was all done under the emergency declaration. So really the negotiations, and credit to EMC and their staff, the negotiations on the price was sometimes done in the right of way.
Yes, sir.
Before the estimates were written. So really, what you're looking at there was probably engineers' best work on the fly to try to get.
Put in the truck, in a real life situation. And credit, we picked 2 great contractors, and they were very engaged, dropped what they were doing, saw a need in the community, and very impressed with the way they performed, both companies.
maybe we need to do something. We'll see. We'll talk about it. Okay. Well, let's move on. But before we let you off the hook, you know, we've got this high visibility project going on over here. Any updates on that? I see they're getting plants in the ground.
Yes, sir. So, obviously, y'all may have not heard, we found an old cistern in the ground, which was pretty interesting. That had been rock filled. So that was something that the contractor and the county just kind of worked together to get that problem resolved today. Talked with the contractor. He's about a week ahead of schedule. All the irrigation pipes in the ground, planting beds, the trees are going in, so that's starting to look nice out there. Got a good presence. Hopefully in 2 weeks, rolling grass.
Okay. And you know, I noticed the trees up there, and I mean that was per the architectural plan.
Yes, sir.
I mean, they just look small. I mean, I know they're going to grow. We hope they grow. You know,
You get bigger ones.
there's not going to be a 90
Pay
foot.
for bigger ones.
Well, I you know, the trees are here now.
Yeah, we expect 46-inch caliper trees, and that's what they're out there.
That's what's there.
Now, did we inspect any underground piping that might have been damaged by the roots of those trees before we covered it over?
In
Like
regards to
TVing the sewer, or?
we have not done that. That's something that we can look at doing an add-on as the video in the sanitary sewer.
I mean, I'd hate to have side growing and, you know.
And dig it up.
Have a failure and have to go back and
That's
tear it all
exactly
over.
right.
I have a question too. It's concerning an email, I think I saw, it may have came from Russell about wiring, if we do, you know.
Justin, you want to take that? Yeah. We about 8 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we alerted them to the project to give them opportunities to try to find ways to get power to the site when they have events. And I think working with Taylor on Russell's staff, they've come up with what it sounds like what we're probably going to do in the future is maybe do some kind of either decorative pole or light post that would serve as something they could drop power to when they have an event. But they also came up with an alternative solution, and they ran it just conduit across the street. So, and that seemed to work. That's what they did this last time. So, but we've been assured that they will not have the need to turn any dirt on the property unless
They will
it's just
not they will have the need.
They won't.
But they won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
And-
But yeah, we did give them an opportunity well in advance of the start of the project, going back now probably 10 weeks, just to let them know that, you know, what limited options they had would be gone. So,
I tell you, I've had a lot of positive feedback. Now, we've had some negative, but I've had more positive feedback by the look up there. And so, you know, it's one of those things, you know, when you start seeing the plants go in the ground, it's like, man, I wish we bought bigger plants. Because now we do have some work to do up there, you know. Once the grass is in, the planting's done, we've got some cleanup to do. You know, that's one thing the building needs. It needs a good wash and some touch up that bottom where it's dirty brown when it used to be some kind of off-white. That'll really make it pop and look really good. So, all right.
That's wonderful.
it really does. I'm really impressed with the contract.
Made the
They're really
outside
doing
courthouse
good work.
look twice as big.
I told somebody the other day, it's kind of like unwrapping a present.
No, it's-
You know, the package looked great, but when you unwrapped it and you really saw what was in there, in this case, it was a courthouse.
Yeah.
A beautiful
Hidden-
courthouse facility, building.
Hidden in the bushes.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for EMC while they're here? I don't think so. Appreciate you coming.
No problem. Anything on the pavement, no good there?
We got through it. The audit guys finished early.
I just,
I like to get roads. Outside, it's all bad.
I'd like to get a roads list if I could too.
well,
Of what's on the project?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we can circulate that.
It's been a while since we
Yes,
discussed
sir.
it.
yeah. You know, go ahead.
And just with this approval, we'll get the contract to you guys, but talking with the parent low bidder, who hopefully y'all selected.
Right.
They're in town working for the city, as y'all probably already seen, and Commissioner Wilder, they're gonna start in Lincoln Park before they leave that section of town.
Great.
So y'all saw the milling and everything on the city side, but they're gonna hit our side before they move into other parts of the city. So that's something that I will let you know, everybody know on the schedule, but I figured we've been chasing those streets for a long time.
Absolutely.
So for the fact that they're there, because that's, when they showed up, me and Mr. Jennings were like, uh-oh, are they starting to lower? But we realized they were on the city side, but getting that section of Lincoln Park before they leave is going to be something that we do.
Now, if they do any milling, is the county gonna be able to keep milling?
If y'all won them last time, you know, a lot of the millings that we're getting on the county side are what we call dirty millings. We're milling down past basically the subgrade, a lot of dirt in it. Now what you're seeing in the city, they're milling to do just an overlay, so they've got a little more cross section to deal with. But I'm sure they'll be glad to give y'all anything you want.
Is it in the contract that we keep?
It's yours if you want it, yes, sir. They're hauling it off, so
So
they
they'll be up
much
to
rather
date.
take it to the roads department than put it, you know, because they're not bringing it back to their asphalt plant to use for what's called wrap.
I know, like
recycled
city,
asphalt.
the last time the city did their paving, they didn't keep the millings, because my company bought those millings.
Did they?
For the tune of $150,000.
But a good parking lot, they did it.
Yeah, so, all right, so we're moving forward on paving, hopefully they'll, you know, like Jason said, they got 180 days to complete.
I got that right.
Sooner,
Yes, sir.
sooner the better. And then, we talk about getting back to basics, roads, bridges, wells, those kind of things. The pavement preservation, you know, I still would like, you know, when I catch you in town one day,
Yes,
let's
sir.
go ride some neighborhoods and start. You know, we've paved a lot of roads. We have. Well, not necessarily a lot of roads, but a lot of miles of roads. I mean, you know, we need to, in my opinion, start needing to get in some of these neighborhoods, some of these other areas. And if it's, in a lot of cases, it just needs top coat and striping. Maybe some crack seal, top coat, striping. That, you know, that'll preserve some of this. And then, you know, we're probably to the point we need to go back and do some top coating on some of the roads that we paved in the last 5 years.
Well, that's one thing we talked about when we took over the pavement program. We don't want to let a log town or a Hollis Road, or just because we paved it 3 years ago, you know, when we do our assessment, we're looking at it again, and if we can crack seal or do a thin overlay to rejuvenate or kick that
Yeah.
longevity into the future,
Trucks are getting heavier.
it does.
Can't keep them
Can't
off.
imagine, I've been looking at data all the time about limitations and stuff like that,
Well.
but that's something that our plan is to keep eye on everything and keep mixing them in and definitely the main thoroughfares that we
And,
got.
and if we could find some way to hit some of these roads, I mean, some of these log roads that really don't merit redoing. I just wrote John B. Gordon Road. I don't know if you call it a road anymore.
It's not a road
It's,
anymore.
yeah. I mean, but, you know, we're not gonna go down there and pave that thing because the constant logging down there. But, you know, I don't know if there's a tar, if there's something we can do down there, because, I mean, there are people that live down there and they do pay taxes and they need something better, because it is pothole after pothole after pothole. If it's just tar and rock or something, I don't know, just some
Mill
sort
it,
of,
put millings on
I don't know. If we could come up with an alternative. There are other roads like that again, but that one's probably yeah. So anyway, appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. Update on County Extension Office, Jason.
Mr. Chairman, I thought that rather than give you an update myself about where we were about consolidating our ag agents services into one county, because it has been a long process, I thought I would give our agent the opportunity to address you directly, because I know they're doing about 1 million other things over there that they're probably anxious to tell you a little bit about. So I thought we invited her here, so if please the board will let her give us an update on her office, and potentially not just on that one issue, but on some of the other things.
Other things, do you want me to start with that portion, or you want me to start with the program?
Floor's yours.
All right, well, so in my position, I came back, I was in Coweta County today for a county extension coordinator update, and so I asked them, as of today, where are we at with this, because it seems like people are dragging their feet a little bit. So originally UGA was not going to put any money on the Lamar position, and so Lamar was having to cover benefits package and everything, salary and all that. Now they've changed, so it's been going back and forth with that portion. I know one of the hiccups was one of the procedures in Lamar County didn't necessarily match up with UGA, and so UGA has approved me being here, or just an ag position here 100%, and then an educator over in Lamar County 100%. So they have given them a financial agreement, and they are just waiting for that to be signed. And so the next work session, which I'm not sure when that is for Lamar County, if they sign it then it goes to UGA. UGA approves that, and they said it takes about, they told me, he wanted me to tell y'all July 1st to have the position up, but he is confident that it'll be before then. That's just giving some wiggle room, being, I guess, more political with his answer. So ideally have the position posted end of May over in Lamar County. And then that's up to y'all, how you want to approach. I know we originally discussed that until somebody was hired over there, that y'all still wanted me to cover it. That's an agreement between Upson County, Lamar County, and UGA. So I'm not sure how y'all want to proceed with that. I know originally we didn't want to burn any bridges and leave them kind of like high and dry. So
That's something maybe the chairman and I can talk to them about when we get there.
Right.
About.
So right now that document, they've got it. So I'm the coordinator here in Upson County. Our 4-H agent over in Lamar County is the coordinator. And what she told me today is that she's given them that form, and so we're waiting for that signature. So until then.
Okay.
But with my time, so y'all have an idea, for example, like this week, Monday morning I was over in Lamar County, Monday afternoon I was here. Today I was gone in Coweta all day for a county coordinator update. Tomorrow I will be here all day, and then Thursday and Friday I'm joining the 4 of y'all in Savannah at ACCG. So I will be there working that farmhouse booth that Extension does every year, so I will be there with you.
Got some good stuff.
Yes, so I'm excited for that. It'll be my first year to go. So I'll be there, but then, I mean, I try to do 2 mornings a week in Lamar County, and then the rest of the time is here. So, programmatic-wise, we're doing a lot with 4-H. We've got our summer camp that's coming up, and we've advertised for that. We've got some folks that are signed up, but we're still waiting to get more kids. I think we have a deadline of 2 weeks before the first day of camp so that we can get them their shirts. We're allowed up to 50 kids to come to that. It's the same charge. It's only the month of June, because last year we actually, the month of July, we had 50 kids signed up, but only about 20 came every day. So it wasn't really worth employing all of those camp counselors. And so we've decided to do a summer program in the month of July. So it would be 2 to 3 events a week. 2 of those are agricultural events that I host, Kids Cattle Camp, like me personally, myself on the ag side, and then the rest of them, they're going to the zoo or the water parks and different places like that. So that's coming up this summer, and we've got a group of kids going tomorrow to Henry County to do poultry judging, and they're competing in that contest, so we'll see how they do. It's the end of the school year, so our homeschool club will close out next month. In-school club meetings are closed out this month because the month of May gets so busy with the school system. And then I've got programs coming up at the sale barn, and I invite all of y'all to come to that on May 18th. We're doing a cattle evaluation program. We've got USDA coming in to teach us how to evaluate cattle on the hoof, how they grade their graders, and we are teaching our farmers about that. So we usually range, and during COVID, we only had about 20 folks sign up to that one. The largest one I've had is about 120 that have come to that program. So we've got that coming up, and some different webinars and different things. So we're doing a lot.
Kind of busy.
A little bit, yeah. And this is my busy season. I mean, I'm sure y'all are aware, because I know they've posted about us getting the top agent the past 3 years in a row for the Southeastern Hay Contest for submitting hay. So that's this time. I just pulled sample last Friday. So I think last year we pulled 68. The year before that we pulled 92 different samples. And so we actually, the total amount that typically go into the contest is between 350 and 400. So we do almost a third to a fourth of the entries here locally. So, yeah.
Anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah, I got a question.
Sure.
I'm old. I've been around a long time. And I've never heard it called a coordinator.
County Extension Coordinator?
No, coordinator. Are you still the county agent?
I am. So it's the department head. It's just extension calls it the county extension coordinator. So I'm the ag agent, but I'm also the coordinator. So since we only have one agent in our county, that just automatically is me. Some counties have multiple agents, and then they choose based off of experience and kind of a whole range of different things of who would be over that office. So I'm over the entire extension office, but my duties programmatically is agriculture.
I just wondered, like I said, I'm old.
So Wes was the coordinator as well.
It,
Now Wes was different. He was the coordinator in both Upson and Lamar, whereas when I got brought on, I was just coordinator here, where the other agent, the 4-H agent, is coordinator over there. So Wes was actually over both of them.
Right.
So.
Anybody else? Nope.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to add the level of community engagement and enrollment in these programs a few years ago was almost nothing. And I'm just always so impressed how you have taken us from, basically a completely and totally stalled out, stagnant program to a premier program. So my thanks.
Well, we have actually outgrown our room too. So a lot of our
Here it comes.
Add it to the capital plan.
a lot of our 4-H programs we have to limit. So we've been trying to do stuff at the senior center, but we're based off of their hours. So yes, we are hoping with the new ag facility we can do some stuff with the school, but last I heard we're not sure what that all entails. So. But yes, we are limiting everything. I mean, I've got lunch and learns that I've moved over. So we did monthly lunch and learns. I've moved them over to Upson County. They were originally in Lamar. And we book out a month in advance. We can't even send it out in an email anymore because we have everybody signed up. And I can limit it to 30 that fit in there uncomfortably. So.
Okay. Sounds like an opportunity.
It does.
All right.
That's right. Smaller classes.
More and smaller classes. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. All right. Let's see. Next on the agenda is the discussion of the 22 year-end unaudited financials.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to completely and totally punt this one to the staff.
All right, Alan.
Good evening, all. I appreciate it. I'll definitely move as quickly as I possibly can and answer any questions you may have.
We're going to hit the highlights, right?
Hit the highlights. So your highlights are really in the first 4 pages. This review is actually just simply addressing our governmental funds. At the work session, we have a very brief discussion or a handout on our proprietary funds, and probably add into it just a look at the Industrial Development Authority's financials in comparison to budget and the Air Force. We will be having Davenport, we'll do a financial presentation as well during that work session. Theirs is a little bit different focus. Mine's just telling you what the outcomes were. Theirs is a little bit different strategy. And you'll see discussions in there, you'll see numbers in their reports as well. But just very quickly, if you look on page 1, you can see, and what I'm doing is focusing on really just the major operating governmental funds. These aren't all governmental funds. I don't bring into the mix those funds where we don't have any personnel or anything, but these funds, like our general funds, there's Squirrel Bluff, cover really all of the major services that we provide to our citizens of the county. Our total fund balance increase with all of those funds is $461,000 for the year. The general fund, we had a $66,000 increase in our fund balance. And you can see the rest. $166,000 for 911 was probably the largest There's some reasons for that, and I can explain that, but it's not all driven by either we under budgeted on the revenue side or that we got way more in terms of the fees that we get from the State Department of Revenue for 911. I do lay out the general fund balance, which is the largest fund balance that we have of our governmental funds outside of any SPLOST or debt service fund. Shows you our total committed fund balance at the end of 2022 and our unassigned fund balance. That committed balance has not changed. It's the same as it was last year. Page 2, real quickly, I give you basically a brief overview of the other governmental funds. On the left, you've got your debt service funds. On the right, you've got the capital projects funds. I even included LMIG. One note here, LMIG was previously accounted for within the general fund. It technically shouldn't have been given the size of the LMIG funds that we received. So for 2022, I budgeted for and accounted for LMIG separately as a capital fund. So part of there is some decrease to the beginning general fund balance because of that. But you can see with our 2022 bond issuance, the net proceeds less issuance cost was $23.0 million. Our debt service for 2019, for our Series 2019 debt service, you see the principal and interest amounts listed there, and the balance in the debt service fund at the end of 2022. 2022 revenue bonds, same, shows you how much interest, but this was only a partial year of interest. The allocation is the City of Thomaston and Thurston, Gatesville. Of course, Gatesville was at one time, but that's what the allocation stands for, and the balance in those, in the fund. Capital expenditures, in 2011, we spent the rest of what was remaining in the 2011 SPLOST fund, and that went towards the coupon. 2016, we spent $1.6 million in 2016 SPLOST for capital improvements. We paid the City of Thomaston $915,000, leaving $5.2 million remaining in fund balance of 2016 SPLOST. 2022 SPLOST spend, we have spent $956,000 of 2022 SPLOST already. We still have a remaining balance of $22,170,479 in the capital projects fund. LMIG, we only spent $40,000 of that. There wasn't much that we did, obviously, in 2022 towards roads other than engineering, some engineering costs here, leaving a balance of a little over $500,000 for us for 2023, plus the 2023 LMIG grant. Ooh, real quickly, page 3. Page 3 is just, this is actually included in your budget book, the top part. I just listed the projects, capital improvement projects that were completed of $100,000 or more in 2022. Not that all that money was spent in that year. It was the projects completed, what the budget was, what the actual cost was. The vehicles, obviously, that was lumped together. Total vehicle purchases. Obviously, we finished the phase 2 and phase 3 in 2022. That project was wrapped up. And we actually came in under budget on that project. ARPA, what we spent out of the ARPA fund, $1.1 million, we've paid already to Highline in 2022. City of Thomaston Joint Sewer Project, almost $2 million in 2022 for infrastructure, and part of it was legal fees that we paid. But most of it was the infrastructure cost. And you guys did approve incentive payments last year in 2021, actually. We paid those out in 22 from the ARPA funds we got from the Treasury Department. Page 4, cash balances. It's always good good to know what's in cash, what our cash balances are at the end of the year. This does include our debt service funds and our other governmental. What's sitting in there is Squirrel Bluff and, my mind fails me. I'm trying to remember. Jail fund and the drug abuse treatment fund. That's predominantly what's in the other governmental funds. And I just showed all the debt retirement funds in total.
Well, before we go, I don't know if you're going to go past page 4, but just a quick question for you guys. So general fund balance is at 9.2 million. How does that compare to prior years? It sounds like it's a little lower. Am I wrong?
You're correct. And that's cash. It's close to fund balance. The difference is because we did move
Some things around that
That's right.
you're accounting for in a different way.
If you look at the joint projects fund, a lot of the cash at the end of the year is still sitting there. If you were looking at the balance sheet, you can see a large due to from joint projects funds back to general fund. That's owed back because we, use general fund cash to help support the joint projects fund until tax collections. So, some, not all of that cash has been moved back to the general fund. The fund balance of the general fund is, we just hit it, my book's coming apart. Fund balance is still 12.5 million total. So that's close. Fund balance increased by 66,000.
Yeah.
So the fund balance is still there, it's just a matter of cash, it's just in a different bucket. That snapshot.
Right.
All right. Very good. So page 5, real quickly, this is what I was talking about. I really wanted to hone in and just focus on those major operating funds to disclose to you how those funds worked out with respect to what we budgeted. And these are expenditures, so these are our total expenditures, budget versus actual. The budgets have not, other than some budget amendments we've made throughout the year, nothing has been done to the budgets post-year end. I haven't done any kind of, amendments, none have been presented to you all. So this is how things actually turned out. You can kind of look at that, and you look at the general fund, it's probably driven by compensation because of the vacancies that we have. And so I'll spare you the time. The way I budgeted in 2022, I budgeted for 100% of all positions, and I did not include a vacancy factor. And so what that resulted in was higher budgeted personnel costs, but we didn't experience that cost. We're really down in certain departments that, particularly in these funds, most especially in the general fund. So that's what's driving that, which is a good thing, depending on how you look at it. So we're below cost. It's not necessarily because we had huge savings and we cut corners here and there. It's personnel. We can flip on to page 6. Page 6 on through, I just basically take those major funds and break them down. And what I present to you is the 2021 actual, 2022 budgeted, and 2022 actual. The change column is the difference between budget and actual. And first I show it to you, as a whole. And then on page 7, I take the major revenue and major expenditure and break it down in further detail. And this is the way it's done in the budget book as well. So you can see what makes up taxes. It's not all real estate taxes, albeit real estate taxes is a large portion. But I break down the detail, and you can see the differences or changes or wowers, And I've got notations in the back, notes, to help explain these changes. Again, you see it, I mean, personnel salaries, biggest driver. Page 8, I won't talk about this, but because it is a big portion of our revenues and expenditures in the general fund, the other sources and uses, there was quite a bit of transfer of funds back and forth between, monies back and forth between funds. A lot of that was driven by the fact that I went ahead and made adjustments, and we've subsequently paid out what was owed to the city. The city had not taken what it was due with overfunding joint projects in the past. We took all of ours, I forget what year, 2019. The city was sitting there with all this money owed, we paid them. And so cleaned out that what was owed to them. The only thing I can't control is they control the bank account for the landfill. So.
Okay.
Then you can go through each and every other fund is discussed. Even recreation, page 10. I would like to point that one out, actually. You'll see that we were above budget on revenues by $94,000. We exceeded our budget. We were also below budget. Again, personnel is an area where we did struggle with, and personnel with recreation. So that's what's driving that personnel cost. But you notice supplies is up, and what was driving that's inflation. A lot of that is related to uniforms, football helmets, all the other equipment that go for sports. Shocker had a really difficult time finding a company for football helmets. And so finally found those, but they were very expensive. The good thing is a lot of that was absorbed by what you see under charges for services. Most of that are what we, collect from the parents to help pay for uniforms and other accessories for these sports programs. So, yes, I mean, everybody feels the pain from the inflation. So there's where it is. And that pretty much, I won't talk about everything else. What I will show you, if you look on page 14, this just basically lays out what I discussed. And I start with Thomaston. You can see what was due to them on the left. Then we started out, we had the agreed upon procedures done for 20 and 21. And so on January 1, the balance owed to them was $541,000. And the balance essentially we owed back net to various funds was $65,000. And what we accrued as a payable to the city of Thomaston was all that we could, $296,839, which left them at $244,696, and ours is cleaned out, so zero out.
So by that you mean we've reconciled on our end
Up through
22 joint projects?
Up through 2021 into 20.
Oh, 21.
Right.
Okay.
And I do plan to have 2022 prepared and calculated and presented at our joint meeting. And, agreed upon procedures can still be performed, but I'd rather do the work and an auditor can come in and vouch for it, but they don't necessarily have to do all of this work that the CFOs can do.
Well, the joint projects agreement says that by March, we will have reconciled and the joint project fund from the prior year and made those payments.
Yeah, that's
right. That's correct.
Well, that's what's in the agreement. Huh?
Well, we did, from the prior
We didn't run
year-
that by you, did we?
Technically speaking, well, which, if you're talking about the year that just passed.
Yes.
No, that's not done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's actually pretty aggressive for both of us, but we can do it, the county can do it. I wanted to get cleaned up going back to 2000, whenever, through 2019, and then 20 and 21.
So we don't have any monies due back to us from joint projects. We're reconciled through 2021.
Yes, sir.
So we just last year.
Correct.
2022. I need to
Okay,
get
and
that.
then the only other issue financially with joint projects for this year, hang with me, brother, just another minute. So, is the
23 budget.
23 budget, current funding, because the budget's supposed to be based on the two prior year average, and that's what we're supposed to be living up to. And are we doing that? Is that how they're participating?
I have not billed them yet for that average. I do need to bill them for it. I was waiting till after March to do that.
Okay,
And kind of get March closed out, but we are going to do that very soon.
okay, because we have a joint projects meeting with them
May?
May. We host that one.
That's right.
So,
Next week, I believe, isn't it?
No,
yeah,
We covered that.
it's at the night of our,
fourth Tuesday.
before Tuesday, so the end of May. So the focus of that meeting should be current operations and where we're at with the budget.
Right.
And Jason and I get with everybody about, how that meeting's gonna run and what our focus is gonna be on, because we only have an hour. And I think they want some feedback from individual programs. But I think the budget is, should be subject number one. Okay?
Well, I'll leave the rest of it to you all. There is a section where it's just basically fund balance summaries. It gives you beginning, end, very brief, revenue, expenditures, transfers in, transfers out, ending fund balances. And then I kind of wrap it up with, on page 18, I list out the capital expenditures greater than $5,000. This is everything that we would capitalize as a fixed asset and show it to you in a graphical display. And the rest of it are notes to everything else that you can read and explains everything.
Great job, Alan. Appreciate you and the staff. And I'm telling you, folks, if you don't have one of these, you have to go online and get one and look at it. This is a great product. This is our 23 budget. So it's anything and everything you want to know about your county finances and what your tax dollars go to. This is a great product. I'm telling you. I bet there's some large counties that can't produce something this transparent. That's it. You want it autographed? All right. I know it's been a long meeting, so let's wrap it up. Jason, you got any final thoughts,
You
comments?
stole my thunder. You've got it in,
I tell you.
print, so we just wanted to say one last time, thanks to the staff. I mean, like I've said before, I don't even know how many staff hours went into that. Very few of mine, and mostly the finance department. So, but if you're looking for mine, it's on page 41, and it's 3 pages long.
Can I say a couple, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just real quickly. We do try to highlight folks in the book. You all are on page 3, I believe, and in other places.
I'm usually on page 4.
Page 6, I'm sorry. Tried to put you as close to your area as possible, your district. And then, of course, we've got a letter from the chairman in here, which is good read. And then our fine young lady, who's our extension agent, we devote a whole page to her, and we devoted quite a bit to Shock in here as well. So we just try to we're going to try to pick some people like this going forward to highlight in our county. And, I would just highly recommend you guys and everybody, even if you just flip it. We've been talking about the school system. We got a thing in here from the city. I've got acknowledgement to Taylor on the acknowledgements page for his contribution from the city. So can't talk about the county without mentioning the city. So, there's a lot of good stuff here.
There is. There is. Jason, thanks.
I got one other quick thing, only because I just think it's really cool. So our rec staff has come up with summer 7-on-7 youth flag football. And
I don't
that,
care.
that sparked my interest. So when I honestly, I don't sit down and talk with them in detail about, all right, what are you programming here or there, but I saw it as one of our Facebook posts, and I said, wow, this is a great idea. So I reached out to staff, so I'm actually getting in the weeds a little bit with some of the programming, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on this summer through 4-H and through recreation. Tons of stuff to do this summer for youth, so more than we've ever done, so check it out. That is all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Jessica, anything? Mr. English?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman.
I know it's just been a long meeting. We haven't had a chance to talk about how things are going in magistrate court with code enforcement, but maybe we'll pare the next meeting down and give you some time to update us on how things are going in both probate and magistrate court, because I know that's taking a lot of your time now. So. Commissioner Watson.
I don't have anything.
Mr. Wilder?
I just want to mention the fact that I got a little bit of a big shock when I opened up that property tax assessment.
You have to remind us of that. We all got it.
Yeah, well, other than that, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, while it's on the table, let's just talk about it again. Just for everybody watching, that is a function that's performed by the tax assessor's office, and they're governed by, State Department of Revenue, State Department of Audits, and I shared with you guys some information that I got from the chair of the tax assessor's board. As I was driving through Monroe County yesterday, I was like, thinking about this, and I wanted to know how they were doing. And, it's just because, the bottom line is we are a desired area that people want to move to. And because of the proximity to several urban, Columbus, Muskogee, Macon, Bibb, and Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And so people are coming here, and we're seeing it, and they're paying a lot of money for land. So one of the biggest adjustments this year was on land, and based on what Heather said was a lot of it was small tract land and how they had been assessed years ago, and they're playing catch up. Another thing that people are seeing, it may be one reason they're seeing tremendous jumps, is that if you go to the Board of Equalization and they set your value, it freezes it for 3 years. If they make the change. If they don't make the change, it doesn't. So it freezes it for 3 years. Well, then what happens 3 years later? And with this tremendous growth that we have, so after 3 years, your value may have been set for 3 years, and now year 4, you're going to get caught up. So, and I think we all share the same message with everybody. If you have questions about your assessment, reach out to the tax assessor's board, the tax assessor's office. And if you have concerns about the value, appeal. It is your right. I can tell you that there are probably people sitting on this panel up here that are going to appeal their values. Mm-hmm. So, it was a shock. Yes. When it goes up 6 digits, yeah. But I say all that to fast forward is they set the value, we set the millage. And I'll challenge staff that, hey, between inflation and the valuations, we've got a daunting task this year come August and September. We sharpened the pencil pretty good last year to come when we set the numbers in here. It's going to be a tough year. We got $1.5 million in road work that we just had to do that we may not get reimbursed for, but okay, we were in a position to be able to pay for it and get that service going. But the cost of goods and services is going up tremendously, and we're not unlike anybody else. You can't find people to work. You can't find people to fill a lot of your positions. So, but anyway, that's all the whole thing. And I'll save you two for last as while I'm going on. Let's see, assessment. Lincoln Park Community Center. Just real briefly, we haven't heard anything from them. I know you talked to Mr. Biggs.
I've talked to Mr. Biggs and to Ms. Traylor. So both of them have indicated to me that they're close to being, to getting organized enough to execute the agreement. I did tell them that the improvements that are enumerated in that agreement. We can only make them once that agreement's executed, because that's the staff's authorization to actually do the work. So I talked to Mr. Biggs about a week ago, and he said they were on track to get us something so they could get organized for the summer. And we both agreed that we're starting to cut it a little close, but
I don't see how we can
really,
do it.
until the staff needs that agreement inked before we do any of the work, because that's our authorization to do it. So
School will be out in about, what, 4 weeks? So,
but we have been in contact.
We've done our
Yeah.
part.
So they told me it's forthcoming, so,
Okay.
and that was about a week ago.
Done our part. All right. That's all I have. Mr. Jones?
Really, I don't have anything, because I want my man James to get out of here.
Mr. Ellison?
Well, bad as I want to get out of here, I've been moving, squirming around here, but, I said it, I'm gonna repeat it, we're working on it, and I know we're working on we reached out to our contacts. I think Commissioner Wilder is working on his end, from his, on the federal side. You're working on the federal and the state side, you and Jason. Hannah's Mill Road Bridge is important. It's an important road to this community. Once again, like I said, we got a taste blast that's gonna be coming back up. It's tough to ask folks to vote for something when you're not doing nothing other than paving roads. I mean, bridges are important too. Sounds like I kicked the can on the Thurston Well, and it seems like that's moving forward. And I'm gonna press on with that. I think that's important. It's an enterprise. I mean, it's a business. It's making money. Your business is doing good. You invest in your business is doing better. So I'm gonna continue to harp on that. And the only other thing I like to say is, I've got numerous calls. So if we're on YouTube, and for the few folks that are left here, if you live in Upson County and you zone AR, you can have a rooster. I've gotten 8 calls about that. I don't know. And they said, well, we heard on the radio,
Read it on social media.
county-wide, you can't have a rooster. I said, well, the radio's got it wrong. If you live in AR, you can have a rooster. I mean,
You have a lot of roosters.
You can have all the roosters you want, okay? But people have got that. And I too got my tax assessment. It was shocking. And I do plan to take the appropriate steps to go have my data stand over there and tell them how shocking I think it is. Will it do any good? I don't know, but we're gonna see. And that's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
All right, now, he's through, and he waited.
Right.
I got a few things I need to say then. All right, let me talk about the roosters a minute. If your chickens are interfering with the life of the person next door, doesn't matter where you live, but you can have what you got on AR. Same way with pigs and everything else. As long as they do not go over there and tear your neighbor's yard up or jump on their car and scratch it up, you good to go in AR. And I'm gonna, James and I share the Hannah's Mill Bridge. So I would love to see the bridge sooner than later. And I'm done.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. Is there no other final comments? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank y'all. We're still live. Hey, next time we do this, when we know that there are items that seem to be generating a lot of public appearance, participation, we'll move it to the bottom of the agenda.
Yeah, I was wondering where.